today will be 16 PF practical. This test is devised by Cattell. Now, if I speak in English, are you all comfortable, or shall I change my language? Now, this is the picture of Sir Raymond Cattell. Now, what we actually are going to assess, we are going to assess the personality pattern of an individual by using a 16 PF questionnaire. My screen is visible to you all now. Okay. So now what we are going to do will be assessing a personality pattern of an individual by using the 16 personality factor questionnaire. Now, how is this 16 personality factor different from other tests? And who was Cattell and what was his theory? We will just go in a gist only so that we can just understand. Now, personality, we know it has been described from various approaches, and like the psychodynamic approach, it explained personality in the light of the unconscious drives, motivations, instincts. Behaviorism, it talked about the stimulus response relationship. Now, when we are coming to Cattell, he was basically a trait theorist, and mostly his perception of personality was based on analysis of various traits. Now, there were other trait theories also, and so they viewed traits in different ways. Concept of personality when discussed in light of traits. What are traits? Traits can be viewed as building blocks of personality. Building blocks of personality, that is how this personality is made. Like when I'm talking about what to say? When I'm talking about a building, if I'm building something, then we need bricks and cement to make that. So in that way, when we're talking about a person, that a person can have various traits, and these traits totally make him a type of personality. Like I call them a short-tempered personality. She or he is a short-tempered type of personality. Then for this type of personality, the person will have certain traits like he will be angry in certain things, he will be more aggressive, he can be verbally abusive or physically abusive. So in this way, for being a type of individual, that individual needs to have small building blocks of personality, and that is referred to as the trait. Now that is what trait is actually, and the trait theorists, they all try to define personality from this approach. Is it clear? Is it clear to you all? Okay. Now, now you all know about the origin of word personality, I guess, that it came from the word persona and why it came. So I'm not going into deep into that. I know you can write on that part at least. Now we are coming to the factor analytic theory as proposed by Raymond Cattell. Now, factor analysis is a type of statistics that is used by Raymond Cattell to single out 16 factors. Now, we are using only 16 factors, but when we think of a personality, then we actually have made various factors, and that is uncountable. How can we say certain factors are important from others? Now, to find out these important factors, he employed a statistical approach, a quantitative approach, that is the factor analysis, and by computing factor analysis, he actually. Okay. Now, shall I go on the last part that I already explained about about this? Okay. What I said actually, other than Cattell, Spearman and Thurston also based their also based their theories of personality on factor analysis. But Cattell's theory of personality on factor analysis was the most important one. And but when you write the basic concept, you'll add his definition also, and that you can take from any book. Now I'm coming to the conceptualization of traits as seen by Cattell. Okay. Now we'll be actually, can everyone mute their mind? বাট আমি তো এখান থেকে আর আমার তো মানে আমি তো সাউন্ডও অন করো। Now shall I continue? Okay. Now we have, now you can see there are actually four traits and we can see it as verses. So in the first part we have surface traits versus smooth traits. Now what is the difference between the two types of traits? See, surface, when we just conceptualize the word then we'll understand. What is surface? When we see something superficial, what we can see from outside. Okay, like whenever we see, we have a general tendency of assigning certain properties to people when we generally look at them. We see as people see looking like a very shy one or a timid one, we generally take them as they are good people. They are very gentleman. He is a good, she is a good girl, like this. So surface, what we are seeing from outside, that is a superficial thing. That means in case of trade, the things that you show outside, the things that is manifested, the traits that are manifested outside are your surface traits. But these might not be your source trait. That is, you can have some underlying variables, some underlying factors that actually make you prone to manifest certain behavior patterns. Like for example, let us take the example of wait, let me think of an example. A classic one. Okay, let me just say. Many of you are glued to Netflix, I guess, and mostly, I guess, most of you have seen that Money Heist. Now, Berlin was a very popular character in the show, which showed he was like very cool and calm in the face of the danger also, and he did not fear his death. He was like a man who was like Dhoni. He was very calm and quiet in the situations that might actually evoke some kind of fearful reactions in others. Now that was his surface trait. But when we are trying to assume we don't know about the sources, now when we actually see the source trait or the source variable, we can see when we are seeing the early life of Berlin, how he came over here, and another thing is he was suffering from a terminal illness that he knows he will be dying anyway. So that can be the source trait, that is that thing that I have in me. That why I am not fearful is because I know that is a very invincible thing. I cannot stop it. So from that, the manifest trait becomes like I'm a very careless person. I don't think about it. I'm a very adventure prone person. So this is the big difference between the surface trait and the source trait. And next we are coming to the hereditary and the environment. Obviously, hereditary traits are the ones that we generally take from our parents or the families, our parental families. Parents should not be the exact word, it should be the family parental genes that you take. Hereditary traits come from that. And the environment one is the way that stimulus response that you develop while in your growing years, while interacting with of other individuals while interacting with your friends, with your colleagues, by being more, while when you just open up your scope of interactions, the way you make the new stimulus response bond, that actually shapes your environment trait. Now, is this clear to you, this trait part? Okay, I'll be open to the question answer session at the end of the discussion. Is that okay? Okay. Now, well, I am on my file soon. I guess you have some issues with your gadgets. Now you're coming to the dynamic traits, ability traits, and temperament traits. Now, what are the dynamic traits? Taking the individuals into some action toward a goal. Now, dynamic, when we see the word dynamic, always remember it is changing. The world is dynamic. It means everything is changeable. So, when we are saying setting the individual into some action toward a goal, every time the goal changes, the action changes. Like you are hungry, you search for food. You are thirsty, you search for water. When you are hungry, you won't be searching for water. When you are thirsty, you won't be searching for food. So this is the basic difference. Dynamic traits are your action patterns that you take while achieving, while you are going towards the goal. Then there's the ability trait, effectiveness with which the goal is reached. That is how effectively it is about your ability. Everybody is working towards, like, for example, all the 500 people, 600 people of IGNOU who are taking this course, they are all aspiring for a single degree. So they all have a similar goal. They all have the same goal, not only similar, it's the same goal, identical goal. But the way, the ability of the students taking the course is different, and accordingly, their grades will be different. So the actions they will be taking, the dynamic traits that are different for every individual, and at the same way as their ability is different, their grades will also be different. The temperament traits, they are concerned largely with constitutional aspects of a response, example the energy, emotional reactivity. That means how, what temperament you have. Like somebody is very energetic, somebody is very motivated, somebody is like they start off with a very focused motivation, but after some time they lose interest. So these are certain, there are certain things that are beyond our control, but that is basically our temperamental trait that signifies how we will actually work in a situation. Okay. Now it is about the questionnaire that we will be using. I'll be showing you the questionnaire. Now, this is a self administering test. That is, it can be administered to self only. I'll just read it out. It's not that you have to understand. It's just you can take a look. Self-report personality test and provides a measure of normal personality used by mental health professionals as well in the clinical setup. Can also be used within other areas of psychology, such as the career occupational selection. So that was about. Now what we have to write in the next part, it's the preliminaries and the materials required. So preliminaries is the details of your subject on whom you are taking the data. Materials required are the things that you use to collect the data. Now this is basically the profile, the way you will interpret your data, how you will interpret your data, the norm that is given, how you will see the norm. These are the second order factors. Now 16 PS, other than the primary factors, there are four second order factors, and the four second order factors are these, yes, in the screen. That is extroversion, introversion, anxiety, stability, receptivity and tough points, independence and accommodation. Now we are coming to the procedure. The rapport was established between the tasty and the test administrator. Two 16 PS booklets, one pencil, one eraser, one answer sheets are required. Why we need two 16 PS booklets? Why? Because one booklet will be with us and the other with the students. Other with the subject. Now, when you are reading out the instruction to the subject should also read it silently on his or her own. And another thing is, if the subject asks you something about the question, don't just go and take off the booklet from your subject. So you should keep one for yourself. That is why we are taking two 16 PF booklets and answer sheet one. Answer sheet will be with the subject. One booklet was kept with the test administrator for demonstration. Other things were given to the testee. Though the 16 pages of self-administering tests and instructions were printed on the cover page of the booklet, the administrator read out the instructions. I just told you this thing. Okay, though there are no time limit, the test was instructed not to delay and to give immediate answers. Okay, when the responses were given, the raw scores are calculated for each item. Each of the two stencil key scores have the 16 primary scales. Then the raw scores were added for each factor and same score were found out from the normal norm table for each raw score. Now, another thing about the booklet I want to tell you, 16 PF generally has many forms. It has A, B, C, D, and E. We will be using form A. Okay. Now, generally for the correct application, it is needed to be applied form A and B together, C and D together, and E is for the retarded or backward tilt. So this is basically used for both the scales actually should be used together, but all the scales are self-sufficient enough so that they can be used or administered singly also. Now we are coming to instructions. I'm not going to I'm not going to read it out. I guess you all know it's printed on the copy. So what is written over here is already there in the book. Now, data sheet actually looks something like this. Okay, it looks like this. Now, shall I be discussing the scoring now or someday other after you take the data? Hello? So that I'm asking to you. Shall I be explaining how you should score and interpret today only, or I can show you how you take the data and how it looks like the. Okay, okay, okay. I don't have a problem. Okay, then I'll show you things that you need. Let me show you how your data should look like. Am I visible to all of you? Okay, let me show you. See, this is the 16 PS booklet that we have. So it is written form A over here, and the all the instructions are printed over here. You have to read it up. From here, the items are starting. We have total 187 items. 187. Okay, and this is the response sheet that I was talking about. Now, how will you answer? Like when you see the 16-page booklet, in the instruction section, there is a part where they give the example how you should actually answer the question. How here are certain questions, and all the questions have the booklet, and the option that is applicable to you, you have to tick that over here in the box. That that box of that item. Like this is for item 1, then item 2. In this way, we have to find out. We have 16 factors, so there should be 16 factor scoring. And before we start, we should write the details of your subjects over here, the demographic variables that says the name, sex, age, date of your test. Now, after you are done with this, the scoring needs to be done. For the scoring, we basically need this pencil sheet. And if you are not, if we don't have this pencil sheet, then we have to actually make our own scoring, manual scoring by placing this on some response sheet so that we can get the answers. Basically, the original form, it comes with this. It has two key actually, 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Now, how we score? Basically, in this response sheet, we have a star over here. Star. Okay. Now, after the response is given by the subject, we have to take one stencil at a time and place the star to this mark. In the stencil sheet also, we have a mark over here, star mark. Now, what will we do? We have to put the data sheet in a way that the star is visible through this. Am I visible to you? Yes. Now, in this way, if we place the stencil sheet, then the answers, certain circles are visible. See? So, when you place the stencil sheet in this manner, the answers, those are visible over here. Their scores are given in the stencil sheet itself. It says 1, 2, and the factor name is given over here. Okay, so we can see like in stencil sheet 1, we have factor A, C, F, H, L, N, Q1, Q3. We have all the factors mentioned over here, and for each factor, their scorings are over here. See, it is demarcated by this line. Okay, so for each factor, what the total score is coming, we should write it down over here in the column of raw score for each sub factor. Okay, now just not to confuse, you can keep the track in your rough copy first, and then you can put your score over here after you get that. Now, in this way, you have to do two stencil sheets. That was stencil 1. That was for factors A, C, F, H, L, N, Q1, Q3. And then we have stencil 2. That will be marked in same way. See, it has got a star over here also. So you have to place the stencil in the same way, and we will be talking about factors B, E, G, I, M, O, Q2 and Q4. In this way, when your scoring will be done, we need something called the profile. It is more or less like a graph. This actually marks your positions of your subject. Now, how we will place your subjects over here? For that, we'll have to take our norm table so that we can know about it. Okay. So, about norm and other things, we will be discussing it in our next class, as you have not taken the test yet. After you take your test, then we will be talking about the scoring and their interpretation in detail. Now, I'm open to questions if you have any doubts. No, I don't mind that. Explain the source rate again. Okay. Source, see, when we are saying a source, like That means that is the starting point or the point from where it originated. That is the soul. Okay. Now, for the manifest content in a behavior or in personality, is the thing that we see outside. Whenever we see a person, we generally decipher something about the person by looking at the person. We generally do it. That is our general tendency of human beings. We try to assign certain traits to individuals by looking at the surface manifestations of behavior. But those manifestations of behavior might have always, might, if not might, it always have certain source that actually instigates that person to be like that. So might not be unconscious all the time. Somebody who is aware of the fact, like the person dealing with psychology or some person dealing with spirituality, many of them, they have a very mindful attitude and they are very aware of the things that is going around. For them, that things might not be unconscious, but for many people, such thought traits are unconscious also because they do not know about their anxiety. They are not aware about why they feel like that in certain situations. Why do we feel so triggered? Why I feel like that? So in that cases, it is obviously unconscious. Somebody raise your hand. Is it you? I don't know who is raising the hand. I cannot see, but somebody raised his hand. Okay. Yeah, go on. No, no, this state doesn't signify that. When I was telling you, that was not about the brief description of the text. When I was talking about the text, that was actually how Cattell conceptualized his theory. I just tried to make you understand that. Any more questions? Srijana also raised her hand. Yes, Srijana, tell me. Uh, your voice is not clear. Just come again.